All right. Welcome. Hope you had a good 4th of July. Today's the 5th of July. Thanks for being here live for those ladies that are here and those of you joining in the recording. We have one more class after today. It'll be next week, and I will be in a different location next week, just heads up, but same old thing. I'll be back in Kansas, so you'll have a different scenery to spice it up. For today's class, have some knee padding. We'll do some moves on the knees. If you have a looped resistance band, great. Couple blocks, perhaps one small hand weight if you have it, and then a larger weight if you have it. I'm going to use my kettlebell there. And that should do it for today. And we're going to start on the back. If you have something that you can put your feet on, like a wall, so the knees and hips can be at about a 90 degree, then see if that's accessible. You could even put your feet at at the edge of a bed. Have some place where your feet can contact a surface, like so. I'll change my camera angle there. Yeah. And we're going to be here to breathe for our initial segment. So with the feet at the wall, legs about hips distance apart, and generally a 90 degree angle at the knees and generally a 90 degree angle at the hip crease. And then you can chill the arms down somewhere. Maybe they're relaxing by the sides or hanging out on your abdomen. And just take a couple breaths here, normal inhales and exhales, maybe softening the eyes, meeting yourself in this position. And with the feet in contact with the wall or whatever they're touching, see if you can keep the feet in position, but attempt to slide the heels down any amount. Your heels are going to stay in place, but you're just engaging a little bit behind the backs of the knees and the hamstrings, trying to slide the heels down the floor or down the wall without letting the heels move. And then see if you can create a little bit of a tail tuck under so that the tailbone lifts off the floor and maybe the sacrum. If that creates too much pressure in the low back, like the low back is smashing down into the floor, then maybe relax that tail tuck a little bit. No need to have the low back today crashing down into the floor. You can just have or attempt to have just an easy low back there. The tail tuck is to get a little bit of sense through the low belly. So you might feel a little bit of engagement there through the low abdomen. Heels are pulling down, tail is tucked a bit. Arms are soft. Great, and just take a relaxed inhale here, seeing where you breathe. And then with your exhale, you're gonna breathe all the breath out. You can do a big sigh breath, letting the mouth open. Or you could do breathing out through like a straw. And then take a relaxed inhale. And breathe out with that big sigh or breathing through the straw, and see if you can get all that exhale breath out. You're going all the way to empty. And your ribs are trying to gather in on that exhale. Heels drag down, little tail lift. Good, keep breathing like that, relaxed inhale. And breathing out, all the way to empty. And on your next exhale, maybe hold the breath out for 1 second or 3 seconds. Not so long that you feel panicked, but just long enough to notice how long you can breathe out and hold it. When you're ready, inhaling that relaxed inhale, noticing where your breath goes, and find that full exhale. Maybe holding the breath out for a little bit at the end of the exhale. Continue for multiple more rounds. So one of the goals with this breath could be to lengthen the amount of time that you exhale, getting comfortable with that, and connecting that exhale with the work of the abdominals. And another part of the goal with this breath could be to lengthen that hold after the exhale to get the body more comfortable with fully deflating the lungs. And when that happens, you then have a full capacity of space available for your next inhale. But we're just breathing in easy here. Big ol' exhales out, dragging the heels down, little tail tuck. And let's go with 3 more rounds of breath. You go at your own pace. Noticing what happens with those low ribs on the exhale breath and on the hold. And when you're done with those 3 rounds, then you can just soften the breath. Go ahead and lift the left foot off of the wall, reaching it any amount towards the ceiling. So for some of us, the leg will come more straight. For others, you might just want to hover that left foot off the wall, or maybe even keep that heel, left heel tapping the wall. Either way, you're just not going to put any weight on that left foot. The right foot, however, is still trying to drag that right heel down towards the floor. And you're still aiming for a little bit of a tail tuck to get some of that low abdominal stuff happening. And with your right arm, reach it up towards the ceiling, really spreading the shoulder blade towards the ceiling, and the shoulder blade spreads on the back. And just take a round of inhale, that soft, easy inhale, and then that exhale, same as before. You can sigh all the way to empty. When you think you're empty, maybe give it another little extra effort out. There might be breath in there. You might surprise yourself. Good, one more inhale, exhale, ribs wrapping down, maybe holding the breath out for a moment. Good, on this following breaths, keep it the same as before, but take the right hand now and create a little bit of pressure, palm to left knee, right palm to left knee. So a little bit of rotation, a little bit of oblique. If you're feeling spicy, you can curl the head up any amount and reach those right fingertips along the outer edge of the left calf or knee. Maybe hover that left hand off the floor. Right heel still dragging down the wall. You're breathing in. And then that exhale is big and as long as possible. Actually, it's not as long as possible. I mean, it's as complete as possible. And 2 more rounds of breath here. Head and shoulders can be lifted, or maybe they're not. You choose. Yeah, noticing what you feel in the abdomen. Great, slowly release head and shoulders down if it's up. You can release that right arm by the side. Left foot comes to its original position on the wall. Super duper. Drag that left heel down the wall. Lift that right foot off any amount. Remember, right heel could tap the wall, right heel could fall or hover off the wall, or right foot could reach up towards the ceiling. Good, drag the left heel down the wall, little tail tuck in. Noticing what you feel there, maybe left hamstring, hopefully. We're getting a little extra hip action here today with our core. Reach left arm up towards the ceiling, big reach with that spreading of the left shoulder blade. And it's okay to let that left rib cage off the floor any amount so you can get a little bit of rotation, almost like you're reaching, or that armpit is kind of reaching for the right shin, the right knee, the right big toe. Good, find that soft, easy inhale. Exhale everything. Ribs gather. Left heel still dragging down the wall. Maybe holding the exhale out. One more inhale like this. And then you can take that left arm and place it towards that right knee, right palm to knee, left palm to right knee. Or like our bicycle, like our crossing bicycle, if you want, you can karate chop that arm outside of your right knee, right leg. Yeah, that's an option. All right, few rounds of breath here. Option to lift the head and shoulders. Maybe that right arm lifts as well. Getting some oblique action, rotation through the spine. Left heel pulling down the wall. Exhaling everything out. Holding that exhale out any amount of time. And making sure that exhale is complete. Usually we breathe on our normal breathing cycles, not all the way in and not all the way out. It's kind of like this, there's this stale air in there. And here we're exploring what the full capacity of not only the lungs, but also the architecture around it, your ribs, the tendons, the muscles that incorporate, and that wonderful diaphragm, you're breathing, respiratory diaphragm. All right, come down, head and shoulder, right foot to the wall, arms by the sides, take a big old breather. And then you can come off of the wall, roll onto your side, and make your way on up to a seated position. We'll warm up the wrists, because we will be on some hands and knees today. So bring the elbows to bend by your sides, palms face up like you're holding a tray. Take a peek at your forearms. See if your forearms can stay in this position. So you want to still be able to see whatever you can see right now on your forearms in this supinated position for the elbows and forearms. You can also think about if you have wristwatches on, you'd want the wristwatch to be facing down towards the floor the entire time. So forearms stay still, and you're going to roll through the wrists. Nice, being mindful that the forearms can stay pretty stable. And the purpose of that is to really focus on moving the muscles and tendons and ligaments of the wrist rather than the elbow, right? So if we were to let the watch faces just turn in all different directions, that would actually be coming from the elbow movement. But here we're just working on the wrists. Yeah, nice. And you can do it with palms really open and wide. See what that's like. You could incorporate some maybe fists curling in. Already you might be noticing some fatigue, some pops, some cracks. Change direction if you haven't done so. Seeing how far your the backs of the fingers, or excuse me, the fingertips, the fingernails, excuse me, the fingernails, how far they could reach back towards the wall behind you. Yeah. Wrist extension. Yeah. And then the opposite, right? Like how far can the palms pull towards your elbows? Yeah, without getting the cat claw fingers. So trying to spread the palms out and pull the palms towards the elbows. Nice. And then you maybe do a little windshield wiper from left to right. That's a fun one. Woof. Typing, texting, holding your dog leash, whisking some cookie batter, changing a tire. So much that you do with hands. Yeah, maybe get some windshield wipers going the opposite way. So with your fingertips pointing towards the floor. Yeah, exactly. Good. Ooh, got a cramp happening in my left forearm already. How exciting. Good, you can relax that. Shake them out. Okay, relax your hands down to the floor. We did not do a moment for intention, so let's do that now. Close the eyes down. Find that soft inhale. Get an exhale going. And clarify for yourself an intention that feels important to you right now, whether it's a word or an image or something in the body that you would like to pay tender and loving attention to during class. And take an inhale with that intention in mind. Take an exhale. You can make your way onto hands and knees. You'll need a resistance band and any knee padding that you might fancy. All right, we're going to use the band in just a moment, but first I'd like to see, or we're going to revisit a movement we did a few classes ago. So you're in hands and knees position, and you're going to find your breath. And you're going to keep position as you try and hover the left knee off the floor, just pulling it in towards the chest any amount without cat-cowing the spine. And then take that left leg out wide to the left, like a fire hydrant position. Yeah, nice. And then see if you can straighten that left leg any amount and maybe tap down the left foot to the floor. Great. Take the left hand up towards the ceiling for a moment. We'll get a little stretch here. You can glance up towards the top fingertips if that feels good. And then exhale, bring that hand down underneath left shoulder. Good, find your inhale here. And then exhale, find that abdominal action for your big, full exhale. Maintain some of that strength in the abdomen as you try and hover the left foot off the floor any amount. Yeah, and hopefully feeling some work happening in your body. Slowly lower that left foot down. And then again, lift that left foot off. Little hover. If that's too much, you can bend your knee any amount and hover off the toes. Yeah, so we're doing little leg lifts here for the outer side of that left hip, while also challenging some of the obliques, some rotational muscles. I know we are not rotating right now, but the muscles are working strong to limit any shift of movement. One more hover of that leg and keep it hovering up, breathing. Good, yep, keeping it hovered, find an inhale, find that exhale, breathing out, ribs gather in, bend the left knee, place the left knee down to the floor, and you can find a down dog or a child's pose or perhaps you roll through the wrists for a moment. Letting your intention filter in. Good, come on up. Place the looped band around the feet. You're going to place it around the outer edges of the feet, like so. Yeah. And, you know, alternatively, if you had like an ankle weight, you could use an ankle weight today on the left ankle. Or if you have one later and you want to try it later for homework, you're welcome to do that. All right, toes to the floor, toes tucked under. You're going to see if you can hover the knees any amount. And you're going to attempt, the feet aren't going to move, but you're going to attempt to press the feet out into the band to hopefully engage some muscles along the outer knees, outer thighs. And then slowly tap down the knees. Hover the knees off and tap down. Try that about 5 more times, noticing what you feel working through the low abdomen, through the side waist. If this is too much on the wrists, you could be down on forearms. Fantastic. The next time that you hover up the knees, you're gonna lift the left toes off the floor, trying not to move through the rest of the body, and see if the left toes can step out just a few inches to tap those toes down. And then bring the toes in. Forgot to mention, if you want to keep the knees down, totally fine. It'll look like this. It'll look like a knee and toe side and a knee and toe in. So if your knees are down, you'll stay in position through the rest of the body and then hover left knee, left toe out to tap and hover back in. If your knees are off the floor, staying strong through the rest of the body to tap the left toes out wide to the left. Beautiful, yeah. Great, last one. And knees tap down if they're not already. Sitting the hips back, finding a breather into the back ribs. Child's pose or seated. Good, and then slowly come on up. You can swing the legs out in front of you, take the band off. And bring the legs out in front. Find a wide hip position. So feet wide, knees wide, spine long. We'll do the other side in a moment, but I just want to give your arms and wrists a break. Cool. If you have a block handy, you can grab a block in between the palms. Reach the block up towards the ceiling, spine staying long. Good, and then exhale, you're gonna turn your chest any amount towards the left leg. Yeah, keep that right knee pressing out wide to the right. Good, then inhale, come through center. Exhale, twist to the right. Left knee's pressing out wide to the left. So the hips are grounded and we're rotating. Inhale, center. Exhale, left. Good, challenging with this arm overhead. If that's too much, you could have the block in front of the gaze or in front of the chest. Good, on your next rotation towards the right. That'll be the last one for now, and then you'll come through center. Cool, go ahead and lean back any amount. You're welcome to have the block keep reaching up and towards the ceiling if you want. Leaning back any amount so that you can lift those heels off the floor. I'm gonna reach my block out in front of me because block overhead is gonna make my shoulders go crazy. I did some pull-ups this morning, so whew, negative pull-ups, by the way. All right, lifting. Let's exhale, rotate left. Looking good. Strong, strong, long spine. Inhale, center. Exhale, rotating right. Hip flexors, how do you do? Inhale, center, one more left. And one more right. Good, slowly come through center, bring the heels down, block over to the side. Hands come behind you, feet to the floor, and lift up through a reverse tabletop. Slowly release the pelvis down. Awesome, roll over onto hands and knees again. Have some space on your right side so we can do that right leg shenanigan. Have your band close by too. Hands and knees or forearms and knees. Toes tuck under. Seeing if you can stay in position here for inhale. Exhale, all the breath goes out. Hovering the right knee off. Pulling right knee into chest without cat-cowing spine, and then taking the right leg out wide to the right, abduction for that right hip. Keeping that right leg hovering like the, what is it? Fire hydrant pose. Straighten that right leg any amount, and then slowly tap down that right big toe edge of the foot. Inhaling and exhaling, finding that strength to attempt to hover right leg off the floor. This side might be very different in its capabilities or sensations. Hover that right foot down and then continue. You can attempt to hover on the exhale out or on the breath hold after the exhale. Last one. You're going to keep that leg hovered. Fire down, bend that right knee. Slowly pull the knee in to tap down underneath right hip. Hips go back, child's down dog, or roll through your wrists. Maybe soften the eyes wherever you are. Noticing what's come up for you. Let your intention reside in the forefront of your mind. And then you can flutter the eyes open if they're closed, grab your resistance band and loop it around the outer edges of the feet. A little bit of feedback from the band. Palms to the floor, underneath shoulders, or you could do forearms underneath shoulders. Toes tucked, hover the knees off, and then slowly tap the knees down. We're aiming for building awareness here of what's required in the abdomen and the trunk to hover the knees off the floor. So what is that like for you today? On your next hover knee lift, you can pause there and maybe explore a little bit of shifting of the weight forward if your wrists can manage it, just to see how that might change the front of the abdomen. And then shift your weight back. You can tap down the knees for a rest. Then come back through tabletop, hover knees. Exhale all the way out, maybe shift forward. Feeling any change through the front of the abdomen. And then shift back, tap down the knees. We'll do that one more time. For those of you that like to do arm balances, crow, handstand, etc., a lot of that front abdomen works in connection with the arms to get you some height. All right. Keep the knees hovered, or if you're going for a knee hover, keep them hovered. You're welcome to keep the knees down. And let's go with that right toe tap out, right toe tap in, maintaining some resistance into the band the whole time. So if that means that your feet have to be wider than the hips when you bring the toes back in to maintain some resistance, then you can do that. Just so you have some external loading, some extra weight into that right foot through the entire motion for this outer hip as it relates to your side trunk muscles and your transverse wrapping around like a corset. Last one. Tap down the knees. Find your reflective position, child's, down dog, or other. Full breath with intention. Good, go ahead and roll over onto your left side. You can keep the band around the feet. Roll over onto your left side, onto the left elbow. You could have the left palm either in front of your chest, or you could have it out away from the shoulder. You can attempt to keep that left elbow underneath left shoulder. And from here, you're gonna push down into the floor through that left elbow so that the left ear and the left shoulder have as much length, as much distance apart as possible. Okay, stay active in that bottom shoulder. And then see if the hips can stack a little bit. Right hip, that top hip comes to hang out above the bottom hip without letting your right butt cheek drift back to the floor. And then lift that right leg, top leg up towards the ceiling any amount. Great, and see if you can maintain that for a moment. Breathing. You can use your top hand to help balance a bit with the fingertips tinted in front of the trunk. And then see if you can maintain some of that resistance into the band as you lift that left pinky toe edge of the foot off the floor any amount, right? Right, staying strong through that bottom shoulder. If this is too much on the upper body, you're welcome to lay down on that left side on the arm. And slowly tap down left pinky toe, keep some resistance between the band, and then see if that left pinky toe can hover. Good, and slowly release and lift. Last one. And hold it. Lift the right arm up towards the ceiling. Breathe, notice what's happening in your trunk. There might be some feels on that right low back side, right waist. Nice. And then for an extra challenge here, you're gonna keep position between the legs, and you're gonna slowly let your right top hip kind of sink back, coming onto the back of the hips, and roll down onto your back, knees bend, feet to the floor. So a non-hand assisted transition onto the back. Good, band is still around the feet. Lift the feet off the floor, knees bend, arms come out wide into a T shape. Breathe in here. Exhale, bring both knees towards the left, towards the floor. See if they can hover for some extra feels through the low belly. Knees come through center, resistance into the band the whole time. Exhale, knees over to the right. So reclined twists, knees through center, over to the left. Full exhale, all the way to empty, maybe holding out at the end of the exhale. Keep moving a few more rounds. And make your way through center. Good. Reach the arms along the hips, hovering the hands off the floor. Breathe in. Exhale, curl head and shoulders up. Lengthen the legs any amount and come on up towards seated. If you need to use your hands behind your thighs, go for it. All right, heels plant down. We'll take a seated rest for a moment. You can wrap your hands around the shins or knees. Inhaling and exhaling. One more breath with your intention online. Super, and then you're gonna lay on your right side. So let's come into that side mermaid-like position on the right forearm. Good. Stacking the hips more or less. I know your body parts are not Lego parts. They don't stack like a tower, but you know, that top hip generally trying to bring it over the bottom hip. Oh, my camera's doing a weird focus thing. There we go. All right, press down through the right forearm. Yeah, you might bring that top hand to kind of wrap around the low ribs, low waist, just to feel some of that. What's it feel like to let it sink? What's it feel like to lift up? Yeah. I would guess that when you press down through the right forearm, that there is some natural lift through the right lower underside of that waist. See if you can keep some of that lift. So space between the floor and the right side waist. And then press that top leg up into the band, holy bananas. Maybe support your torso with left hand, fingertips tinted in front of you. Good, maintain resistance into the band. See if that bottom foot can hover off the floor any amount. And slowly release. Bottom foot hovers, keeping resistance into the band. Wowza. Yeah, still pressing down into the elbow to get some lift through that under waist. And about 3 more rounds. Good, slowly, slowly let that left butt cheek come closer towards the floor, seeing if you can come into that semi-boat-like pose. And then heels to the floor, sitting up tall. Let's do a slow, controlled roll down. Heels could be tapping down or heels lifted. You choose. We're gonna roll down the spine. Breathe in. Exhale. Slowly roll down bit by bit. Breathing all that air out. Head and shoulders towards the floor, and then inhale. Exhale, let's slow curl up. You can use hands supported behind the thighs, no problemo. When you're at the top, find an inhale, reset. Exhale, curl under, it's like a tail tuck. Roly-poly your way down. Arthropod, maybe? What's a roly-poly? It's like there's a special classification of the roly-poly. One more, roll up and roll down. Beautiful. We're gonna finish on the roll up. We'll revisit something we practiced earlier in the session or in the series. You're gonna hover the knees off. If you have the band around the feet, you're gonna hold on to it with both hands like the reins of a wild horse. Awesome. We're gonna do roll up in this fashion. For some of you, your resistance band is gonna be too tight or too tense, and you won't be able to pull it as far as I may or as somebody else. So what you'll do is you'll just find some resistance, feet into the band, hand into the band, and then you'll create any amount of roll down. Maybe it's just a pelvic tilt. curling tail under, and then a pelvic lift, spine lift. Pelvic lift doesn't make any sense. So you're gonna spine lift. Cool. If you have space in your resistance band to roll all the way down towards the floor, then go for that. Using the band as a bit of resistance, you can push the feet into the band just to feel the container of hands, feet, and this extra support. Let's go 2 more round downs and rounds up. Yeah. Yeah, nice. And on the last one, let's go nice and slow on the roll down. Yeah, just feeling any of those sticky spots where the body's like, oh. Sometimes I have a whole chunk of my spine that's just like, no, we're not gonna segment. We're just gonna all go as one. Ugh. Good, when you come up next, you'll take the band off, bring your feet together. Hands can come to shins or feet and fold forward any amount towards the floor. Okay, come on upright. And we'll do a standing bit with the heavy weight, and then we'll chill. So have a heavy weight close towards the front of your zone, and we'll go from there. We'll come on up to stand any way that you can get there. Change the video camera for you. A little shaky, so if you don't like the shakies, then just don't look at the camera screen for now. Okay, that'll have to do. I'm gonna stand with your feet about hips distance. And you're gonna have your heavy weight in between both feet. You can't see my weight here very well. It's a little better. Okay, before we use the weight, we're just gonna practice this without it. So you're gonna bend those knees any amount and sit the hips way, way back towards the wall behind you so that the shins are more parallel to the floor than not. And then stand up tall. Straighten the legs and think about a little bit of a thrust of the hips forward. Engage some of those back booty muscles. Sit the hips down and back. You can do whatever you want with your hands here. Knees bend, but shins are more parallel to the floor. Right, so it's a little bit different from a squat. Come on upright. And then one more, hips go back. Good. All right, let's try that one more time and let's pause in the sit back. And I'd like for you to take that cool inhale and then exhale, let everything out as your ribs gather down and in, and you maybe sense some of that abdominal stuff working. Another inhale, easy inhale. Everything breathes out. You can breathe like a big sigh or through a straw. And come on up to stand. Great, you're gonna bend down your knees and grab for the weight and pull it on up, long arms. Yeah, great, love it. Making do with what you got, love it. All right, from here, we're gonna do some sit backs into that deadlift, like chair pose position. So your hips come way, way back. Still feel some weight in the toes. And find that exhale, wrapping around. And then press down through the feet and rise on up to stand. The hips go down and back, try again. And you can try and keep the weight in towards the body, like depending on how heavy it is, you might have to kind of pull it in a little bit closer, almost like you're, I got nothing there, but hold on, let me think. Do a few more rounds. So this weight is just coming up and down like through an elevator shaft. Yeah, not swinging it forward, not swinging it back. Just going up and down, and those hips are going way back. Let's go one more. For those of you that maybe want to start working on some kettlebell swings or doing some heavier lifting, this is a nice one to practice and prep for that. Integrating the core into the hips. All right, the next time that you stand up tall, you're going to pause there, breathe. For this round, we're going to do a little bit of a rotational deadlift. So your weight, instead of going center between the feet up and down, your weight's now going to come over and tap a little bit in front of each toe. So yes, your spine is going to have to move. You're going to have to rotate a little bit, but it'll probably, let's go. Let's see what happens. All right, so stand up tall, sit the hips way back. Good, and try and tap that weight in front of left toes. You might feel some more weight in your left foot, left hip. Great, stand up tall. Weight comes through center. Weight goes in, tapping in front of the right toes. And up you come. Nice, keep going. Yeah, I'm seeing lots of slow focused movement, super duper. Yeah, hips go back, back, back. If you don't make it all the way to the toes with the weight, that's okay. Cool, on your exhales, those ribs are supporting around your spine. Let's go one more each side. Yeah, you might need a little hip swivel, has a break in between. Totally cool. Great, and then to finish up today, bring the weight in front of the chest. I know my camera's doing some weird fuzzy, foggy things today, so I'll look into that and fix that for next week. Bring the weight in front of the chest. Maybe you turn your knees out a little bit, toes point out a little bit. And we're gonna come into more of a squat position. So your knees are gonna go over your ankles more and your hips come down, any amount. And then stand up tall. Inhale at the top. Exhale to come down. That's one way to do it. Let's do that once more. Inhale at the top. Exhale to sit. Rise on up. Cool, let's do it the opposite way. Inhale at the top. Exhale at the top. Inhale to sit down. Exhale to rise. Inhale to sit. Inhale to sit. Exhale to rise. Great, so a different position for the knees and legs and hips, but a little similar. Let's go maybe two more. Ribs supporting that exhale. Beautissimo. All right, set your weight down. If you have a bolster or a blanket, that you can roll up into a long hot dog-like shape and place that in the center of the mat, lengthwise with the mat. Then go for that. Or if you have a couple pillows, that could work too. I'm going to create a little bit of a restorative for the end here. Yeah, rolled blanket. And you're aiming for something that can support you from, ooh, got a little breathy after those squats and deadlifts. You're aiming for a support of this blanket from the length of your back pelvis towards the back of the head. So if your blanket is too short, then find something else that can support behind your head in addition to the blanket, right? So blanket is underneath the back of your pelvis, around the sacrum, that space between your two pelvic bones. There's support behind the back of the spine, and then something supporting behind the head. Yeah, sometimes it takes a moment to get organized. And you have options here with the legs. You could have knees bent, feet to the floor, maybe letting the knees knock in towards one another. Some people might like long legs on the floor, legs straight. For others, that might feel like too much in the low back, but you can experiment. Arms could be out wide. Or perhaps you bring palms to rest on the abdomen. And here, with breath, you can breathe easy. Or at least intend to breathe easy. No need to force any amount of exhale or inhale. And with your attention, you can place awareness on the exhale. So you don't have to do anything other than watch the exhale. The inhale happens naturally. And seeing if you can watch the beginning of the exhale, the middle of the exhale, and all the way to the end of the exhale. And if it's possible, seeing if you can keep watching this exhale as you soften anything in the body that might feel a little tensed up. Maybe it's the jaw. Or the fronts of the shoulders. You are more than welcome to stay in this position. We'll continue resting for another 2 minutes or so. Know that if for whatever reason the position on the support behind your spine does not feel great or supportive anymore, then you're welcome to change that. Noticing the exhale breath. As you encourage gravity to do what it naturally does. Inviting the joints and the muscles around the joints to get a bit softer. All while the exhale moves and supports your relaxation. Expand your awareness out wider to encompass your entire body. And briefly note how your body feels right now. Any mood or sensation, or both. And then acknowledge your intention one last time for class. And you might choose to carry this intention with you throughout the rest of the day or the evening. Or you can leave your intention here on your mat with gratitude. You're welcome to stay as long as you'd like, lingering in this position. If you'd rather finish class sitting upright, then make your way towards a seat. And no matter what position you're in, we'll all take a moment for gratitude. You could bring the hands towards your chest, and if you're seated, a slight bow of the head. Noticing what it is that you might feel grateful for right in this moment. And thank you all for joining live and later, and feel free to reach out with any questions or feedback. And I'll see you next week. And I'll be sending out an email after the last class just to check in with you all. But in the meantime, feel free to reach out at any point, and see you soon.